Ever feel like your own thoughts are just bouncing off the walls of your mind? What if the key to unlocking true personal growth isn't about thinking harder, but about listening differently? This story dives into how stepping beyond your comfort zone of ideas can fundamentally transform your understanding of the world and yourself. It started one night in 2020, during one of those endless online debates that seem to define the digital age. I was sitting in my dimly lit room, scrolling through my social media feed, when I stumbled across a post that made my blood boil. A former classmate, someone I hadn't spoken to in years, had shared an opinion that clashed violently with everything I believed in. I didn't just disagree. I felt offended, even betrayed. Within minutes, I fired off a reply, armed with statistics, links, and a touch of sarcasm that I thought made my point airtight. The thread exploded. Friends from my side joined in, backing me up, while others rallied behind her. The argument stretched for hours, full of clever insults and stubborn certainty. When it was over, I felt a hollow kind of victory, like I'd won a battle, but lost something invisible. It took me months to realize what that something was. At first, I didn't see the problem. My social media feed was full of people who thought like me, read what I read, and shared my outrage. Every post confirmed my beliefs. Every comment section was a chorus of agreement. It felt good comforting, even. I called it staying informed, but really, it was something else. I was living in an echo chamber. It didn't happen overnight. Algorithms quietly learned what I liked, what made me click, what made me angry, what made me nod in agreement. Slowly, my digital world narrowed. The content that challenged me disappeared, replaced by voices that sounded reassuringly familiar. Outside the screen, the same pattern existed. My friends, my coworkers, even my family seemed to orbit the same set of ideas. We watched the same news, followed the same trends, and shook our heads at those people who just didn't get it. We thought we were thinking critically, but in reality, we were just echoing one another in slightly different tones. The realization hit me one evening when I noticed how quickly I dismissed opinions that didn't fit my worldview. If someone disagreed, I didn't listen, I labeled. They were uninformed, extreme, or brainwashed. The irony, of course, was that I was becoming exactly what I accused them of being. I saw the echo chamber everywhere once I started looking. In 2021, I watched a heated online debate unfold about a social issue that had polarized nearly everyone I knew. On one side, people shouted for justice. On the other, they demanded logic and order. Both sides were loud, passionate, and convinced of their righteousness. But in the noise, something vital was missing: listening. One comment stood out to me. It was from a woman who said, "I used to think like you until I had to live through it." Her story was personal, vulnerable, and didn't fit neatly into either camp. Yet instead of empathy, she was bombarded with mocking replies. People twisted her words, accused her of lying, and told her she was part of the problem. I remember thinking, this is what we've become. We talk at each other, not to each other. We scroll past nuance, past empathy, because it slows us down. Online, it's easier to categorize than to understand. And once those categories harden, it becomes nearly impossible to see the human being behind the opinion. I realized that I, too, had been guilty of this. How many times had I dismissed someone just because they phrased something differently? How many times had I decided someone was wrong before I even heard them out? The truth is, agreement feels good. It's psychologically soothing. When everyone around you shares your beliefs, it validates your sense of being right, of belonging. It's like standing in a warm circle of light, safe, familiar, unchallenged. But growth doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in discomfort and confusion, in the moments when your assumptions are cracked open and you have to re-examine what you thought you knew. I learned this firsthand when a new colleague, James, joined my workplace. He was polite, intelligent, and much to my surprise held several views that were the polar opposite of mine. At first, I avoided him. I didn't want to argue or feel that frustration again. But one afternoon, during lunch, we started talking about one of those off-limits topics. I braced for confrontation, but instead of debating, he asked questions. He listened, not waiting for his turn to speak, but actually listening. And when he shared his perspective, it wasn't combative. It was thoughtful, rooted in experiences I'd never considered. Something unexpected happened. I didn't feel defensive. I felt curious. That conversation didn't change my beliefs entirely, but it changed me. It reminded me that understanding isn't the same as agreeing, and that empathy doesn't require surrendering your principles. Listening to someone different didn't dilute my values. It refined them. It helped me see that the world is rarely black and white, but made of infinite shades of gray that algorithms can't capture. Since then, I've made a conscious effort to step beyond the echo chamber. I follow people I disagree with not to argue, but to understand. I read news from multiple perspectives. I ask questions instead of making assumptions. It's not always easy. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, even painful, to confront ideas that clash with mine. But every time I do, I feel a little freer. My world grows bigger, more complex, more human. Because the real danger of echo chambers isn't just ignorance, it's stagnation. When all we hear are our own echoes, we stop evolving. We stop learning how to think critically, how to empathize, how to grow. Listening differently doesn't mean abandoning your beliefs. It means opening the door to growth. It means realizing that truth is rarely found in shouting matches, but in quiet conversations where both sides are brave enough to listen. Today I still hold strong opinions, but I hold them lightly, knowing they can change with understanding. Beyond the echo chamber, I've found not just new ideas, but a deeper connection to the world around me. And maybe that's what real growth sounds like, not an echo, but a dialogue.